Okay.
Good evening. Let's call the January 28th Finance Advisory and Audit Committee meeting to order. Roll call.
Chair Long Chu,
Here.
Vice Chair Elise Ryan,
Here.
Committee Member Sher Miller, here. Committee Member Virginia Standish, here. Also present, Town Manager Mark Cutney,
Here.
Bill Underwood, Managing Partner of Underwood Management Services Group,
Thank you.
and Town Office Coordinator Denise Rodriguez.
Okay. We also have two persons in attendance, audience.
In public,
Can you?
Ken Johnson, Collecting Canal Road.
Wait.
Wait.
148 Terrace North.
Okay, thank you. Item number 1B, do we have approval of agenda?
I second.
Motion by Cheryl, seconded by Liz. Any discussion? All those in favor, saying aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 4-0. Item number 2, consent agenda. Minutes for November 26, 2012. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes for November 26?
I'll make a motion. I second.
Motion by Cheryl, second by Virginia. Discussion? I have one
The
comment.
typo?
No. Okay. You have that?
Little.
Or you want that then in this notice?
Okay. Oh, it's just a minor one, but in your, where it says Member Miller inquired about the election expenses item being moved in the budget, Mr. Underwood explained where the expenses were moved to. It should be TO, not TOO.
Page
Page,
205?
2,
and
5 of
page 5
192.
of 192.
Two.
Huh? It's just, you know, your spell check probably didn't pick that up, just little.
It's an accurate spell.
It's an accurate spelling of the word, yes.
But an improper use of that TO word.
Sure.
No.
I have one comment. Do you see page 2 of 5? 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph. Not included the A, approval of financial statement. You see on paragraph number 4, in the middle of it, it says that Vice Chair Ryan suggested staff provide recommendation at some point and include in a future FAC agenda. I want to bring up the discussion we had many months ago. That I don't know about other members. For me, getting up there, my memory starts to fade because I little memory, little megabyte memory. So I suggest that management start to prepare a list of things to do as a reminder. I don't know how we all feel.
A reminder list?
Yeah, just like this one.
Oh, is this the same discussion of the?
We're ready for
No,
that
it's a
discussion.
new list.
Yeah, it's a new list you
It's
discussed.
a new list
It's
called
a new
reminder
year. It's a
list.
new year, I think.
Not to-do list.
We're not calling it a to-do list.
A
You're
reminder list.
calling it a punch list?
I call it a reminder list. A friendly reminder list.
What about a friendly reminder?
Yeah.
it was
What
on
would
the
be
old
the reminder
business.
list?
On the old business, no?
I don't
Since
want to
we don't know what
get
the
formal.
reminder-
Content
yeah.
of reminder,
Something, I think
table,
it will help us or help me personally.
how things are
I
progressing.
know you guys are having good memory, but I don't.
Oh, yeah, right.
And then,
I thought we were addressing it because it was always on the next agenda. As soon as you have something.
But it's not on the net, it's.
No, but we would put something on.
I still suggest that let's consider having a list that, a friendly reminder.
It's just extra work.
Yes.
Well,
And I thought we
For
had.
us,
oh,
for
I thought
us,
the discussion
for us.
wasn't one of you guys were gonna actually keep that list to keep us honest.
Yeah, no, I think.
That's what I recall now.
No, I think
Right.
it's
We're
a
gonna have to get
reminder.
tough tonight.
Because that way you know that we're doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Let's run the next
Yeah,
one.
we know you're doing it, that's why, but I don't know whether we are doing it, that's the problem.
See, you don't want the fox watching a hen house.
Well, the Fox is here.
Well, I know, so one of you guys would be keeping the list.
But what do you all think? Do you think we
I understand what you're saying, and I could almost see it in a table format of the things we discuss, and even
Just
with a
copy
little
this line.
timeline, simple thing.
I'll copy this line.
Well, let me ask you how, I don't know if you're joking or serious when you say that, of us keeping a little list, how appropriate it is, because it's not an official agenda. Even if one of us was to offer to do that, is that appropriate?
I would say it's appropriate because you have the fiduciary responsibility of watching the accounting and auditing of what we do.
Yeah.
And for us to keep the list, you would not know if we were telling you the accurate scoop or not.
What would your preferences be?
I think that we should not micromanage it. I think we should give it to the management. If Denise could type out a sentence, I think it would be as easy to copy this and put it somewhere, and then to accumulate it. I think that would help. I'm sure.
Simply as an appendix page, perhaps, to our agenda, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the only issue is that I thought generally, with the exception of a few items, they come up on the next very agenda. So there's no list to accumulate.
I think it's fine if you resolve it and then or handle it, dispose it. I mean, it's gone, so we have no list. But I'm thinking that sometimes it may not come immediately.
Is this one of those points?
Yeah, this
Is
is something
something?
similar. Yeah.
Well, may I offer this then, for tonight? So we have a compromise here? I'll come. Well, this will come up again at the next meeting, but we're not backing up, just as a compromise for tonight. We'll put it down. I'll log it on the back of the book here and see what happens at the next meeting, if it's addressed for you. Because you're saying it was not addressed, it was brought up in the previous meeting and it was not addressed in this meeting, and you expected it to be.
I'm not saying that we want to tie the hands of the administration. I personally don't expect the solution to come back at the next meeting. Some of the issue may take 6 months, a year.
And we kept issues on the agenda. We kept issues on the agenda, excuse me.
I understand that. I think the buzzword is not that we don't trust, not that we don't. It's just that you have to deal with your own business and then everybody has their own. I don't think we would be able to keep track without just another list. I know you. When I see the whole package, we have 179 pages. That's good, a lot of information. I would see that adding another page to 180 wouldn't be.
Okay.
You're asking just for a simple one-page table that would just add items to?
Correct.
And
correct.
that's what I'm calling an appendix, just an appendix, a log
Yes,
perhaps
yes,
of
yeah,
ideas
yeah,
is what you're
yeah.
asking. Just a one-page appendix, and then
Right.
check it off when it's accomplished,
Right,
like a check, what do you do? A check-off list?
Checklist.
Can I turn your attention to months and months and months of agenda items that said we were going to do something that one of the consultants was going to bring to you, until this committee finally said, take it off the agenda because we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We would continue to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, so it goes on the agenda. If you have something go on the agenda, and I don't care if it's on there for a year,
Okay, if you don't care, then just do it.
okay, it goes on the agenda.
Well, I think.
I'm not doing a list.
No, no.
I know it's going on the agenda. It goes on the
May
agenda
I-
until it gets
May I
addressed.
ask a question?
Please, agenda is for action.
The action
for
is there is no
information.
action.
Okay, if you want the agenda for FI, I think that's fine. They'll be takes a review of it and do that. I think they'll. I'm not trying to argue. I think a lot of time we can see that. I say, oh, that's right. We in the future means next one, maybe 2 weeks later, 2 months later. It's kind of lose track. I mean, by the time when we have a couple more meetings, I'm not trying to create more work for you guys.
Well, I don't mind, when the item comes up, we put it on the agenda, it stays on the agenda until such time as it's acted upon. And the action every meeting is you can ask a question or not ask a question, we either report something or we don't. But it stays on the agenda from the time it's brought up until the time it's
It's actually
resolved.
better than a list because it forces action.
Let me tell
It
you.
forces action.
Let me tell you the downside of it. I don't want the council who appoint each of us to think that we're creating work for you while you put an agenda, while there's no action, while there's no proper solution to it. What's the point of putting in every time?
Well, because we just, the agenda is nothing
No.
that's there.
But
We just copy from one agenda.
well, then, why don't you copy on a page and then just keep the list of it? I don't see I don't see why the purpose of putting it every time, why you don't plan to take action, why we don't plan to receive any new information for resolution, to close it, why we want to print it every time? In that case, the council can say, what are you doing, huh? This guy, you force my manager to type this on every time? Doesn't make sense. That's my thought.
Okay, but the list doesn't make sense either.
Well, what do you all think?
Wow, what do we think? I thought that the punch list was fairly ineffective because a lot of the time you had 2 or 3 words about something and we couldn't even remember what it was, and we would get into, well, what was this and why is it there, and it tended to waste time. But I do think that there is some need to make sure that we keep up. And as far as this Palm Beach State College, well, that issue absolutely does need to be on the agenda, and we need to talk about it. And I was going to bring that up today anyway, not Palm Beach State, but just the whole process of those accounts and the way that, that we need to look at this. We need to spend some time on it. And I know, you did have one ordinance that you submitted. I don't think it's
Cost recovery?
a cost recovery, yeah. But we need to talk about this because we do have a problem. And I keep going back to the county. When I went down to the county to put my nursery in and ask for approval, that'll be so much. You go to this meeting, you give you so much more before you go to the meeting. There's not any of this, I just don't think that the people of this community want their tax dollars to go for a developer project, and that we need to make sure, to the extent that we can, that they are paying for that and that they pay for it up front.
I missed something though, what is the problem?
We've got negative balances
Sure we do,
down.
we got 3 of them, but we're gonna be taking care of those. You have to remember, I have to wait until everything clears sometimes before I see that there's a negative balance.
All I'm
The rest.
saying is, I just want to see it on the agenda. I want us to talk about it as an agenda item. Not,
I think we could request for that, that's not me.
yeah, and I'm afraid we're getting into that, but yeah, I think I've asked before.
Would that be under old business then? Do we keep it under
I
old
don't
business?
care.
It doesn't
No,
really
I'm just
recall.
asking
It
another.
doesn't matter.
Well,
It
it's
just
always
keep
better
it
because
going
you give
forward,
it a balance
keep going
sheet
forward.
every
I'm not sure the process.
I think there's a formula.
There are 3 accounts there's actually 4, but we can't do anything about Dave right now, that's all I'll say.
No,
The other-
Dave, we would have done, if we had a fee where we said, okay, you wanna make this meeting, there's a fee of so much, and then there's another fee when.
You're talking about the ordinance we want to write.
Yes,
That's
the one we
that's
want,
the one,
that's
right,
the one
Well, I'm
we
not
want.
talking about,
A fee,
Fee
a
structure.
fee that they have to pay. I don't wanna talk about how do we collect something that we've already spent,
Right.
Right.
I wanna talk about how do we make sure that they pay before we get to that point.
that's right, we agree totally with you on that.
Yeah, and that's what I want to talk about, and I think that's the action item. I mean, it's water under the dam, if,
Well, and I think we're in agreement with that. These are
But I
items
mean-
before we arrive, that
Well,
we're trying to clean up.
for example, the Valley Crest, they're currently $4,745. I just got an estimate as to what it's gonna cost in addition to the dollars that are in arrears that they're gonna have to give me, or they're not gonna go to town council. So we have the appropriate hammer.
exactly. I
And
mean,
they're willing to pay, that's not gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
And I
But
also want,
before they go to the council meeting, they gotta come up with that money, or you just go on the agenda.
Oh, we did that. We did that with, an example of that is SDA. SDA was ready to go to council, but they were in arrears, and we told them, you're not going until you,
Not going to
Take
the
the count-
bank. Yeah,
the
because
count back
if you
in the
let
black.
these people pay, get what they want without paying, they're never gonna pay.
I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, and Eunice is very correct. When you said the punch list is ineffective because when the items are on there for a little while, we tend to forget what they are. If they are on the list, we don't even remember what they are. You can think about if they were on the list, they were not on the list. Just think about their logic. I agree with you, because when the things going on for so long, that we don't even remember what they are. Think about if they were not even on the list, then they'll be even longer and much faster. I mean, that's, I'm trying to figure out if, you know,
Well, I think what I was saying is if we're gonna have a list, let's make sure that it's worded so
Worded.
that we can tell what.
We have a
it is.
list. Good, I can tell you, we have a list.
it's really with us.
I was
No.
gonna say, then let's see it.
In fact, how do you think we get these things done if we didn't have a list?
Yeah. But anyway, I think, Martina, what do you think?
Well, I wanted to add to what Elise was, she was bringing up fees as an example. Other towns have their fees preset on their website. I mean, when I go and I pull a permit for someone, or I have to register, or I have to do something, it's there. Before you step through that door, you better have that check in your hand, and it's all on the town website.
There is no such established ordinance in the town of Los Angeles. Groves.
No, I understand that part of it. I'm just saying, I understand what she's talking about, the fee, the set fees and that's something, I don't know, I believe that, does that come before this committee? I would think that,
Well, I mean, I don't know, I think that, I mean, what the minutes say here, and, you know, I'm assuming that you're correct, was that you said you already had this on your priority list, and that it was going to be presented to the council in the near future. And I'm thinking that we may just need one reason to talk about it, and I'm definitely going to mention it in my report. You know, I would like to be able to tell the council that the committee, you know, is concerned and would recommend, you know, tell them what the figures are and how much we're in the hole with these people, and that we think that a more proactive or a fee schedule would be, and, you know, we recommend that they give it a higher priority, because, I mean, I don't think this committee can really tell you what to do. We
It's-
can make recommendations.
I can
to
tell
the
you,
council.
it's on our priorities list that we provided the town council.
Mhm.
I think it was in the second tier, if I remember correctly. And we're in the process, I'm doing a new priorities because other things have jumped up. But I mean, you know, we have certain, like, I know one councilman would like to see the red light being full. One councilman would like to see collecting canal. One councilman would like to see this RFP.
I
So we're trying to marry them in that
And I
and give
don't
them
want,
each, you
I'm
know.
not gonna sit here and tell you what your priority should be. They are the ones that have to do that. But I think they rely on us to tell them when we see, you know, a problem that needs to be brought to their attention. And I think they should know, you know, in the report, what the arrears are. And
That's
then,
only part of it.
you know, and then, you know, and then that we think that the solution is going to be to come up with this fee schedule so people pay in advance.
I hope you, that's the
Well, that, I mean, the obvious solution is that goes on the agenda for the council, the balance sheet. That they can see it.
They don't, yeah, but they rely on the finance committee to tell them what it says.
I believe, but she's discussing two separate issues that should be presented at the same time from what I hear Lisa saying, the balances that are due and the establishment of a set fee schedule as soon as possible, which would benefit anyone coming into the community, a landowner, resident, developer. And if the town council can't handle that idea, then they need to, I think they need to express why they would object to it.
I don't think they object. I think the issue is the priorities
It's
that
just the
they set.
priorities, the workload.
It's their priorities.
Right.
They set the priority. And it either rises to the top or it doesn't.
Mhm.
And a set standard fee schedule would not be a priority.
It hasn't been.
Well, perhaps we could encourage it to be a
Well,
priority.
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Okay, you're just giving me double that.
I think we should need to close this.
We've got public.
Okay, let's get the wise man.
No, not the wise man, but a couple of things. And I realize that the council members work extremely hard, and they put in a lot of time, and they do have priorities. But at the same time, let's look at some of the priorities they've taken under their consideration and voted for, and let other priorities such as this price list slip to nowhere. Now, I would like to know, one, what was the criteria on the vote that was taken for their salary increase? What were the strings attached to that? Did they vote for that themselves immediately, or was it individually for the next person that took their seat? Or was it a collective action for once the whole regime was gone, if they're gone, was it for the next tier of council members sitting up there? In other words, the IRS does not give you, nor I, or anyone in this room the ability to pick and choose which code they want to follow.
Let me interrupt a little bit. I think this is a little bit out of order. That the subject of discussion. I appreciate.
Well, no, it's getting back to this thing that you're talking about here right now. It's what the priorities are. In other words, we've got to say, you know, this price list is a meaningful priority as a financial committee. And until you get that before them and say, we've got to have that to be able to deal with that, because y'all spent, you know, 15, 18 minutes talking about this checklist and, you know, what comes first, the chicken or the egg. You've got to have the price list up there to let them do their job so that the council people can do their job. And you got to have priorities. So what I'm saying is that we spend a lot of time in this meeting trying to, you know, outfox these guys, and they're trying to outfox you guys, and you know, then the councilmen out there doing what they want to do when they want to do it. But you've got to have a price list. As a matter of fact, we were talking about the price list before I ever left here, a year ago. And we're still talking about the price list.
2 years.
That should have been a done deal. Thank you.
Ken, I appreciate your comment. I think that this is the one of the examples that we talked about regarding the mechanism. We did have a special meeting to talk about the compensation allowance that precipitate the recommendation to the council. I think the idea is, how should we make sure the input from this committee will be carried forward and put things together like a list or a party list in order to track the items we want to pursue.
Agreed.
To advise them. I still think, like I said, my memory may not be good, that we lost track. And the lost track. So we are discussing about the mechanism, how to keep the items back onto the list, like something you talk about, something you should talk about. So by having a list of, I call it friendly reminder. Mr. Underwood disagree with that. I'm trying to advise, we are the advice committee, to advise him and advise the council that since we are typing this anyway, if he want to put it on the old business on every agenda while we may not have a solution, we don't take action, what's the point of having it there while there's no action? And as a chair, I will object to you to put something there while we don't have anything to discuss.
Then it's not a punch list.
No, I call it friendly reminder, keep saying.
What do you want to call it?
You name it.
If there is an open
Okay,
topic.
you give us a name, give us a name.
Doesn't have to be
It's
anything.
an open topic, then it would stay on the agenda until the topic is resolved.
So the
Why
price
can't
list
they
is on
put
the
their
agenda
priority
and
list
Hey, we
in
can
our
put it
agenda
on
Well,
packet?
I think what.
And we can ask a
Oh,
question about that.
FSC.
Okay, what's the idea then?
You guys have a list of things you want to do. Can you put it in our agenda and then we can discuss
As
them
an
from
FYI?
there? And then if, as they get, you know, ticked off, the list should get shorter and shorter?
Well, by your next meeting, we'll probably distribute this to council, we'll just provide you with a copy.
As
That would be-
FYI?
And then we can ask, you know, how is it going, what are the steps
Still,
being taken? and
that's a
that
good
would be-
idea. Phil?
I think instead of saying what list, make it an FAC list, not a finance committee, finance list.
Put the blame on us.
Yeah, just make it that list.
Well, I think
FAC,
It can go on the agenda.
If we're
The
going to
agenda's the
have-
proper place for it.
You can include it in the agenda.
It is, what was?
Oh, I was just saying that if we're going to have one, I think we have to be very clear about exactly what it is we're asking them to do. And I think that any member that wants something to be put on the or on the reminder list needs to say, either I make a motion or I recommend that this be added and very explicitly state what it is so that somebody can write it down. And, otherwise, we may not know what it is when it comes up, and it doesn't give very clear direction to you as to exactly what we're expecting. Because I think we are sensitive about not trying to jump the priorities of the council. We do want to keep the management company here if we can.
I don't think we dictate the management what to do. I think we are, like I said, we are an advisory committee.
Yeah.
And I think some of the advice that we put in with, to me, they are consistent with what you want to do. And we just want to make it more streamlined.
Well, keeping another list is not more streamlined. Keeping it on an agenda that rotates from meeting to meeting is one way it doesn't get lost regardless if there's action or not.
Okay.
But
You want to find it?
Is there a way to put it on the agenda?
Just put it on the agenda sheet and put it at the bottom.
We can
Right,
always add it on the agenda.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay.
not necessarily in old or new business, just
No, it's
as
always-
as an other item.
We had in old business always.
If Bill wants to do it, I don't think we have an objection. I mean, maybe when the council realize that the agenda is getting longer and longer, and when they question us, we should say this is Bill's idea.
And we don't mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you all agree? Yeah.
I would
Yes.
rather know that there's a list of items
Okay.
besides what they think
Okay.
we're doing that everybody else
Okay.
thinks we need to do also.
So my suggestion is that when you put a list, maybe at the last item on the agenda as an FYI, or if you have action, then move it up. And then at the, you have maybe one statement saying what it is, and at the end, putting the date where the action or the request was taken, so that we know where they come from. What do you think? Okay, Elise, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Virginia?
Does you agree?
Do we?
Shall we make a motion, or shall we
Let them
recommend?
let them finish the discussion first. Mark, do you agree? I know Bill is not here every day, you are the one, so you know. Okay, if Mark agrees, and then I think, Elise, you agree, right? Virginia, agree.
All right.
We all agree, so.
Make a motion, what did you say now?
Do we need to make a motion?
Do we need to make a motion?
Well, I'm not sure what you said, what you
Well, I
all
think-
decided on.
I think we can have
No, we
consensus.
agreed to have it at the end of the agenda.
Okay.
And maybe you guys can tell us exactly how you're gonna word it, how you're gonna format it.
It's old business.
Old business, okay.
Okay,
We can go at the end of the agenda.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, I mean, it could be where, I don't care where
call
it is.
it carry over.
Old business.
But I mean, we don't mind putting it on every agenda.
okay.
Okay.
Can you agree?
In regards to that, I think when you make that list, beside each item, you need to put down a date.
That's what I mean, the date.
Yeah, okay, I
You want
didn't
to
say
take
that,
that?
I'm sorry, okay, that's good.
Good, thank you. Okay. I'm sorry, this is only a,
It's just a minute. Good Lord.
okay, any other discussion?
Yes, I'd
Oh,
like to
Virginia.
go back to what was just brought up from the public and also what Elise was referring to. As the most junior member here, and as someone who deals with towns and municipalities on the other side paying fees, I'm very concerned, and I'd like to bring it before the town council, I'm very concerned they don't see establishing set fee schedule, which is revenue generating income to this town, as a priority.
Well, we
It
can't.
avoids transparency, it avoids showing bias, it establishes a fee schedule as to who pays what, because there could be a lot of unethical issues that come out of that matter.
I know.
There can be, but I mean,
Yes, there can be, especially in this town.
if I could, we're not allowed to make money.
I didn't say we were here to make money, I said it generates revenue sources for this
It
town.
does generate that.
And it sets
long
a
as-
transparent, established fee schedule with no bias or and was any
Objective.
unethical
Objective.
objective.
Well, we don't have that many fees, but if you were, I think you were at the last council meeting, we did add a fee for the review of any permit that comes in from a zoning standpoint. There's There's a $60 non-refundable fee. And then we also added a $200 fee for any letter, zoning interpretation letter or
That's
zoning
great,
letter.
I'm glad you did.
And we, you know, since we had the amendment to our contract now, we've added the VTR fee. And we've
So we
added
have a
that.
big business
And those are
tax
really
receipt fee?
those are really the major fees that we could charge based upon what we do.
Okay.
So I didn't
Everything
find
else would
out.
be, everything else that you're talking about would be a cost recovery initial fee that you would set for maybe the fee would be different for
Oh, I'm
variance.
talking business tax,
Yes.
I'm talking the
Versus-
simplest
Well, that we
fee.
have,
If you
that's
go
already.
on Palm Beach County Planning and Zoning, on their website, they have they have a schedule of fees. It's mind-boggling. You know,
Yes,
I mean,
you click your way through it and it adds up.
and, yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's what these people are used to paying. I mean, they're used to that, they expect to pay.
Mhm.
So, you know,
I think we need to ask the town council why it is not a priority.
I think both of you members, Elise and Virginia, hit it on the head that with planning and zoning, maybe to go to planning and zoning committee should come up with a recommendation. That's in their, that's in their jurisdiction, to come up with a fee schedule for the things that go into them. Rather, over here become more like administrative items, rather than finance committee setting planning and zoning fees. Let them come up with something.
How do you feel? Maybe we could have Mark to relate it
I think,
advice to them.
I think I will make, I think that I should make a report and Virginia's gonna back me up. And if you wanna come up and speak on part of it, go right ahead.
Oh, sure, I'll be my charming self.
If not, I'll repeat what you said.
I'll be my charming self.
I think you're right on, it should be, it needs to be a priority and really surprising. And we've been talking about it for more than 2 years.
I would suggest that since this idea is going to be followed up by management, I think it would be proper to have a motion and we recommend it so that it will be kept in minute and same will appear on the future old business. That's what Bill would like to be handled, right? Okay.
I would like to know if there's a committee, I was thinking
I think it's
before
fine.
this that I would stand up there and tell them how much is owed by each office. So they know that, and I don't know if you all object to that being said in a public meeting, but,
It's public information in the accounting.
Yeah, it is, it's public information, because I don't think that unless you have that, if you're don't have an accounting background, you don't necessarily know what a negative what a negative means versus a positive.
Okay. Can you make the motion clear so that in the next meeting under old business that Mark could make it clear on the agenda?
Okay,
If
yeah.
and also if we do have information to follow through, it could be an action item.
I would like to see an agenda item of a discussion on establishing a fee schedule for planning and zoning costs, land use changes, zoning changes, I'm not going to try to tell town management which fees to charge. I think we would like to get your recommendation on that, but, we need to make sure that the council agrees and, wants to make this a priority, or a higher priority than it has been.
Second that.
Okay, motion and second.
And I don't want you guys to do a lot of work on this, I just want us to have take half an hour and talk about it, and you tell us how we can make this work. But I don't want, I know Frank he hired Taylor to put together, a schedule.
They probably have it, no, but they probably have it from all their work in Palm Beach.
So we don't want to repeat that. We don't want the town to expend a lot of expense or time, but let's just talk about how we would go about it.
Denise, could you read the motion, make sure that?
Yeah,
she gets
that's,
that right?
because I didn't, okay, motion. Vice Chair Elise, move to approve the motion establishing a fee schedule for.
Discussion,
Wait a minute.
discussion.
Move to
Discussion.
approve a discussion
In our next agenda.
on our
It's not like a two item.
next agenda
To,
to establish
Establishing a fee schedule for planning and zoning
zoning costs.
costs.
It really is pretty wrong.
and other related.
Anything we can get money
Okay, and other
Related.
related
costs.
items. That's all.
Okay.
All you need.
So we have motion
And I hope
by,
you guys won't do a whole lot of work on
Elise,
it.
and then seconded by Virginia. Any more discussion? All those in favor, saying aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Now, we need we have a motion to approve the minute. Any more discussion for the November 26, 2012 minute? Saying none? All those in favor, saying aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I do have one question on that page 2 of 5, or page 5.
It's already approved.
Yeah, but you didn't see my hand. I had.
Okay, I'm sorry. What is it?
Fifth paragraph down, what was the inquiry about the traffic light on State Route 7?
What happened was there was an article in the Palm Beach Post
Okay.
referring to, I don't know, I'm working from memory here, if it was Palomino Park area, but there's a school and a development, and they've gone back and forth with what they agreed to with the county originally. They didn't come up with a payment, time went by, and the county, I believe, is putting in $250,000 towards the light. And my point was, because we have concerns when the time comes for the traffic light, what the town should be asking for the county to
Okay,
contribute.
gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Approval, where we have one, for the second. Okay, now we come to the January 9, 2013 minutes. We have a motion to approve that.
I'll make the motion.
One second.
Motion by Cheryl, second by Louise. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 4-0. Okay, presentation, new business. Approval of 2013 November financial statements.
November 2013 or November 2012?
12.
Did I miss the entire?
I thought it's kind of, I'm really
We've been
flying.
here a little bit longer than we realized.
Yes.
Okay, budget versus actual. Mr. Manager.
Pardon?
Mr. Manager, you want to go through this with that, or we can just go ahead and question?
No, I think, it's pretty perfunctory with the questions you have, I think just wanted to know.
Okay, why don't we start with the question, if we do have some. So,
I don't think we have any here, I think it's in detail.
it's getting hot in here.
I just have a brief little question. It's on page 41 of 192, under professional services. I just wondered, hay sales.
41 and 192.
Yeah.
Hey, Sarah.
Hay
Oh,
sales.
I can't wait to get to that topic.
I wondered what
Where are you
it
on this?
was, where is it coming from, who's it going to, and can we get more?
Okay, hay sales is work authorization 1201, which the management company is doing a special project for the town council.
Okay.
The project is, as you know, we had a code complaint on 3 entities, one which was Jen and Gerald Pike. And they went to the council at a meeting back in, I believe it was June. They were about to go to special magistrate, and they brought a whole bunch of people into the room, and they complained about the fact that they should be allowed to do what they're doing, which was described as a mom and pop operation of hay sales. And so town council directed the staff to come up with an amendment to the Unified Land Development Code that would address the issue of mom and pop type establishments selling hay, that would ensure that the operation didn't run with the land, that they would have to be owners at the time. That was a provision. So we worked up a proposal, brought it back, town council approved, asked the town management company to take this on, which we did. In fact, it's currently before the town council. It just went through its first public hearing. It was tabled once so that Councilman Bolsonet could review it and make some considerations, which he did. And like one of them was he wanted to see folks that leased property could also take advantage as opposed to being an owner. So, I mean, there were a number of provisions made. The one thing I would, it was only passed first reading by a 3-2 vote, which means at the second reading it would have to get one more vote or it would die.
The title kind of intrigued me.
Well,
Well, what we try to do is like that WA 1201, that was work authorization, 2012, first one that they wanted something.
and for clarification purposes, Cheryl, it really has become more than a hay bill. So you may just want, this is a separate topic from this council, you may want to read it, but what it boils down to is from this page, well, I'm on page 85, we've basically paid $2,315 just for the text preparation, from what I'm reading.
And advertising.
And,
Plus advertising.
right, 4,000, it's basically comes to about $7,000 to redo this.
The work authorization was for, I believe, 7220. We weren't going to get to that. We were going to come in under budget, although if it keeps getting evaded, we might get the 72.
Any other questions, sir?
Yeah, on page 27, under check number 5308, which was written to the law firm, first item says Wellington Edge Code matter. And I guess what my question is here is, that did seem like quite a bit to spend on one code, but how will that be recouped? Or will it be recouped from?
The only way it will be recouped is if the special magistrate, if the respondent is found guilty, or he may not necessarily have to be found guilty, but there can be administrative cost judged against him. That we, just like Pat Hastings had one, and she had, it was $900 in administrative costs.
Right.
You may remember Todd McClendon had one for $3,000, but the town council voted to not.
I don't think, hopefully they won't do that again, you know.
Right.
If the town incurs this, they're written a letter and they have the opportunity to correct it. And if they don't correct it, the town has to spend a lot of money and take it to a magistrate. I think they should pay for it.
You are right, though. That is a lot of money. Let me tell you why that's a lot of money. Because actually, Mike Cirillo, that is the one code case where we're actually having Mike Cirillo be the prosecutor for the staff. It's Seth Breyer on B Road. It's actually, he was one of the three entities that the code complaint that I was talking about with the Ikes came up. He was also selling hay, but he was doing a lot of things on the property. And Mr. Breyer can be difficult at times, and it's been a very rough case, and we are trying to make sure that we bring him into compliance. The last, where it stands is that it was continued to February at the special magistrate, and if he doesn't provide an application, a complete application for a land use amendment, even though there's a moratorium going, in order
And
to.
put up a deposit, right?
I'm sorry?
We would put up a deposit at that
Well,
time.
he told him, yes, he needs to put up a $7,500 cost recovery deposit, even though we won't be working on it due to the moratorium. But it's the action required just to ensure that he's performing and attempting to address his code violation.
Well, I mean, do we have a policy of asking the administrative judge in a code enforcement case to assess administrative costs.
We don't have a written policy, but, you know, it's been pretty clear that, I mean, since day one, since we've come aboard, we've been asked if we can cost recover special magistrate code enforcement. And the opinion that the special magistrate gave us, because he looked into it, and I think Mike concurs, and Mike also serves as a special magistrate for some fees,
Right,
is that you can't recover the special magistrate, because that's like trying to recover the judge's costs.
right,
But you can recover the costs that we put into the matter.
exactly. That's
Not so much me on a day-to-day basis, because
Right.
I'm performing administrative, but
Right.
people like Tu and Taylor.
Right, and the attorney.
Yeah, and advertisings and things like that, the Tu and Taylor itemizes that whole
So,
thing, and that's how we
when
get
you-
the number.
Whenever this goes before the magistrate, you plan to ask the judge to assess this as well as the other.
Absolutely.
That's what I was trying to get at,
Yeah.
just to make sure that it is being, that we do have, and hopefully it won't get reversed by anybody, but, I mean, to me, by the time they get to administrative hearing or magistrate's hearing, they've had plenty of opportunity to correct the problem, or they wouldn't be there, so,
Are they
Concur, I
still,
agree with them.
Mark, may I ask, are they still Wellington's Edge? Because I saw a different sign on the property.
Well, I don't know,
Have they declared bankruptcy, changed names, or, I'm just curious, I drove by and there was a whole different entity name.
it's hard to tell, because we have a property owner in there by the name of Lane Smiley, who we've never seen. I think she has some kind of relationship with Seth Dryer, but I'm not
So
sure.
there could be another company.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of things. What he's trying to do right now, I think the way he's trying to get around that is it's a 15-acre property that's got 2 residential structures. I think they're trying to do a legal description that will carve out like 9.99 acres, which would make them eligible for a small-scale amendment under the planning laws. And then, while they're trying to cut out that 9.99 acres, they're also trying to make sure they do it so that the 2 residential structures are also not part of the 9.99 acres. He went ahead and got a lot of licenses and things, never got town approval, but I mean, there was a laundry list of uses that he wanted to actually do on the property, which was mind-boggling for the zoning and land use someplace. And he had indicated that at one point in time, he wanted to do a land use amendment, because he's right adjacent to Solar Fort. But he was told by council, which I have no proof of this, that, wait, and then we'll take care of you later. I mean, he comes off with some things, and so we just kind of,
Yeah.
we got to go with the flow as the case proceeds,
Of course.
I'm sorry, Ken.
Excuse me, but I believe the situation that you're talking about on the northern piece of property, there are 2 homes on that property, not one. So the second home is occupied by basically Guatemalans, and they aren't paying, as for instance, garbage fees correctly. Neither property is paying garbage fees correctly. So,
that's not a good thing, is it?
yeah, it's not a good thing. Plus, he's got signs all up and down Southern Boulevard that says Wellington Edge, hey, to turn right on the B Road and go north. So,
I mean, he's been ignoring us.
oh, I know.
That's the reason why
Yeah.
we decided to bring Mike in and really,
Well, does Public Works take down signs if you don't pay for, do we permit signs to be posted or signage? No.
If they're like snipe
I've
signs
been around.
tacked to a tree, or just, I think we have the ability to pick them up and throw them in the truck.
Well, somebody picked up the ones you had on B Road, but the ones on Southern were still there.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
if they're in the DOT right away, then the DOT should pick them up, right?
You sure, but we could too.
Yeah. Okay.
Is everybody?
Any more comments?
Well, that's it. So I'm going ahead for that.
Virginia?
For this.
So this is regarding the budget?
Virginia, yeah.
Virginia?
I don't know, I have no more.
For the next item, bank reconciliation.
I think we're covering the whole month at one time.
Everything?
Yeah.
General ledger, bank statement, no question?
Do you have any?
Okay, if everything's okay, then let's have a motion to approve the the financials for November 2012.
I make a motion.
A second.
Motion made by Cheryl, second by Virginia. Any more discussion? All those in favor saying aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So, Denise, you will change the 2013 to 2012 under edit. And under 5A.
Alright.
Yeah.
That was the same thing would be under December, also December 2013.
Okay, let's move on to new business item 5B. Review of planning and zoning invoices.
Did you
Just
do
the
the
ones for
December?
November,
I took a
right?
motion in November.
Let's
Did
just
you do
work
the
to-
Are we
December?
still in November?
We're
We've
page
done-
52, December.
Okay.
Yeah, that needs to be changed to December 2012,
Yes.
unless we've been here longer than.
Oh,
The whole year's gone by, it's Christmas again.
Yeah, that's weird.
And you did notice on,
I think you'd want to see.
I mean, any other question regarding the planning and zoning invoice? Seeing none, then
we'll see if it's for you, we'll see.
I think since this is a separate item, do we need a motion? I think we should
A motion for what?
to approve the 5B.
Oh, yeah. Well, we need a motion to approve the financial statements, but we don't usually approve 5B. They're already paid, we just have them on there.
I think we
Yeah.
did for 5A.
We did.
Yeah, we did it
Motion,
for
Virginia,
Yeah.
Virginia second.
Yeah.
And we voted for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, any question on 5B? Well, let's move on to 5C, approval of 2012 December financials. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to
Do you want to
give me a moment to go through, ask some questions. just
Oh, this we
before-
have a motion then, the second
Oh,
one we
sorry.
have a question. Any motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Cheryl, second.
I'll second.
Second by Denise. This one, 5C.
Oh, yeah, okay, December.
Yeah. Okay. Motion for approval for 5C been made and seconded. Discussion and questions?
Who moved to approve?
Sure.
Cheryl, and second? Please.
So,
Can I,
why don't you
does
start?
anybody have
Yeah, why don't
anything?
you start?
I do to go.
Go, no, you go ahead, you may.
Oh, no, you might have some things. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I just, this stems from the previous town council meeting and the amazing transportation fund. And I'm just trying to keep up.
You have a page?
Well, we can start with page 62. That gives a rate reconciliation. Okay. I just want to confirm that I can read the numbers properly. Okay. So we have $3 million in our bank account. Just making sure I'm reading this right. Okay. Of this $3 million, we're saying that the general fund is funding $97,000 approximately. We're funding the road fund $28,000 and change, and we're funding the sanitation fund $128,000 and
That's
change.
account activity.
Right, okay, well, I don't mean, when I say funding, yes, account activity. So what we're saying of the $3 million, this is account, right, this is account activity that these funds have been used for. These dollars have been used for these funds.
Right.
Let me say that properly. Okay, I'm saying it wrong. The dollars have been used in these specific funds. Our capital improvement fund, nothing has, just saying it right, okay? Nothing has been done. Okay, so that I've said it properly, correctly. Which brings me to a question on, I guess this is a future question. When we have a,
Add to a page, or?
well, let me just make the statement first, and you
Go
tell
ahead.
me if I need a page.
Okay, go ahead.
We have transportation funds we're collecting. We've had a previous discussion at town council of, oh no, there's no money for any road work. At the previous town council meeting, it was brought up We only have X amount of dollars, where are you gonna get money for road work? This brings me to my question, I guess, in budgeting and in planning with transportation funds. Do we have a master plan for our transportation funds and how we're gonna use them?
Boy, there's a lot of answers there.
General, simple, please, general
Okay.
and simple.
Well, first, let me say first, we have an amendment that is planned, that is work authorization 2. CIE. And there, the management company is going to be addressing the CIE for the 5-cent money as it relates to the gas tax. You've heard the management company opine on many occasions that you really can't spend that money unless it's tied to capital improvements out of the capital improvements element. Out of the comp plan. Our comp plan had no activities, no projects, nothing listed for transportation. So what we're doing is we're going to go in and we're going to correct that, identify projects, so that then the 5-cent money will be an appropriate expenditure once we have this amendment in place. The discussion that I think you were referring to related to a difference of opinion I had with a council member relative to indicating that figures were available to spend money. And the council in question was talking about the entire budget, which I said is not correct. So that's, now, I can go into that or not, but I'm.
No, that, and I understood what that
Okay.
issue was about. It
Okay.
was a numerical issue that wasn't understood. No, but it made me think about where are we with the transportation fund, because I see on the December, our wonderful little financial activity report, we do have some items budgeted. Well, we have some revenue budgeted, and we have some road work budgeted here. And then.
And we also have a big roadwork project that's budgeted in capital improvements, and that's the Collecting Canal project.
Okay, because I saw something there, but technically, our capital improvement is not funded yet.
Oh, no, there's money funded for
There's
capital
things
improvements.
funded.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. 1.2 something?
1.3.
1.3, it's City Hall alternatives, development of alternatives, it's Collecting Canal Road, it's traffic signal at Okeechobee and D Road, and then we put 200,000 in for, what was that, linear park improvements?
Okay, we have traffic light, road and drainage
Trails,
improvements.
yeah.
Okay, so you have it under the annual, when you say it's funded, it's because it's under the annual budget amount.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, yeah, it's a capital budget year, it's actually, yeah, it's not spread out over, I mean, we did do some projections out to 2017, I think it was.
Right,
That's, this is actually when.
This is the money plan to be spent this
okay,
year.
so let me say this correctly, that of the capital improvement funds budget that is funded, that $1,312,466, is that coming out of the 3 million, is that reserved in the 3 million?
That would come out of
That's
the
still
3 million.
reserved in the
Oh,
3
yeah,
million.
that comes out of there.
And I would submit we're in no hurry to spend that until we are in a position where we're doing it prudently and wisely, because one of the things we want is a survey effort as it relates to Collecting Canal for that project, for example. One of the things we're working on right now, we have the bid out for the edging grading, but we also were in the process, and very shortly we'll be getting a request for qualifications for engineering, because we need to get those people on board to do those kinds of projects appropriately for us.
Okay, so the $362,466, this is basically all of Collecting Canal? This is sufficient for Collecting Canal?
The way the project was described, I think it's for the remainder of Collecting Canal, that's not current. There's a couple small portions that do have some motion.
Yeah, but that's
Not any, not any big extent.
That's basically,
Yeah.
collecting canal.
I have a question. You talk about that we budgeted $200,000 for the Indian Park?
Yes.
It's trail.
Well, yeah,
It's a trail, it's not a Indian
Trail.
Park, but trail.
Mhm.
Okay, because from day one that we know that having a park is going to be cost prohibitive for the town. I mean, unless we have a few more.
Trails may be cost prohibitive as well until we get the situation with the roadways.
Correct.
Which we're trying to do.
Yeah, I hope that I thought having, I didn't hear about the park, so for such a.
But the money is appropriated for that function in the event that the council decides to move forward.
For the trail,
The trail.
okay, not for the park. Okay.
Then you have to take that cash and subtract that $1 million. Actually, it's $1.4 million you have to subtract, because we are contributing $400,000 this year plus the $1 million we did last year. We left $1.4 million, so there's really about an $87,000 balance in the CIP for future use.
And then I had a question on page 89. Page 89. The last account number 101541468. The entry is number 1538. Town-based rock, well, actually, it's kind of, this account number in general, the non-district roads, Maine, when I see in here C Road and 22nd Place, you're referring to the 22nd Place portion of the road, not C
Yeah, not
Road?
C Road.
Okay.
Exactly.
And then when we'll see, and then when you refer to North Road, it's not really North Road, because that would be a district road, correct?
No.
Okay, so the town, North Road is now considered, the town is picking up the cost of North Road?
No. North Road?
Well, that's why I'm just, perhaps, what I'm thinking is that you're referring to an intersection, and that's why I just want clarification.
No, that's 20, wait, where's North Road? I missed it.
Where is North?
Yeah.
Which
North
one is
Road is a district road.
I
And
know,
where is it
we
in the-
paid for 132,
You did pay for the,
135,000.
right, the town paid for the
Was
OJEM.
that the
Right, no, the
second
town
three-
paid 130, about 130,000 for OJEM and top coating. I don't know if that includes speed bumps and signs. But no, this is a separate small issue of the 6 cent non-district roads and my
Which is.
But are you saying, is it that same one C Road, that's 22nd Place?
place. That's why I'm thinking it's
Not
referring
North Road,
perhaps to
it's north.
22nd Place
North.
and a non-district. Okay. And someone pointed that out to me and said, I don't think, the district and the town are still separate.
We're not real sure, it changes.
Oh, no, I think it's 22nd Place North is what he was saying.
Yeah.
And what is rubber tire backhoe cleaning?
That's a good
That
question.
would be.
$625, you guys have a backhoe?
Yes. of
Rubber
course.
tire backhoe
It's called the
cleaning.
district.
Okay.
Excuse me?
We would be submitted an invoice,
Oh, they were
and we would be
removing.
reimbursing the district for work that they do. And if it happened to be that that's what they were doing, then we would reimburse for that, based on the interlocal agreement for district roads.
What do you do for cleaning the tire?
I don't have an answer to
Polish
that
it?
question.
Do you remember, Mark?
No, I didn't go back and look at that.
Maybe they were picking up some tires. Yeah.
That
would
could
make
be
sense.
it, that would make sense, it's just the
Yeah.
way it was written made me think of a backhoe and cleaning the tires.
Illegal dumping.
Yeah.
You got it. There's fewer tires in the
There were some
neighborhood,
tires, I remember that.
especially neighborhoods all over.
No road.
That's probably what it was.
So it's basically public.
Any more questions, Jimmy? Sure.
Are all these,
I've got a
going
question.
back to the list, circling around, these projects that are coming up, is that something that would be on the list, that business that we talked about, putting that on our agenda so that we can see and track and these projects that are coming up?
As they come up.
Yeah, but that's something that you would put on there, and until they're completed on our agenda, and until they're completed, they would stay on there as old or new business?
Well, the budget is their annual appropriation. So,
These projects that you have for the capital improvements.
Oh, they're not on our.
No, is that something that would be?
Well, we're not monitoring.
No, we're not monitoring.
I mean, unless we have an interest to discuss and some advice,
Unless it's a financial
or,
position.
or we have some advice for further action, and they agree that. Ken, you have a
Quick
comment?
question. This, getting back to this rubber tire backhoe thing on page 89 for $625. Is that a month's worth of tire collection throughout the district, or is that one incident?
probably one incident.
Could we see the audit, pull the invoice maybe for, we can request a copy to be.
Yeah,
Well-
you need to make a motion.
only thing I've got to say about that, somebody illegally dumped 2 tires on my property, and I reported it. And somebody could have come there with, you know, in a pickup truck and thrown them in the back of the pickup truck. And if they're charging us $625 for that, I could have gotten rid of the tires, you know,
For a lot less.
For
a
$6.
whole lot easier than paying
You got a
that
lot
kind of
people
bill.
who want-
I mean,
Yeah.
that's absurd. I mean, I'm just, you know,
I think.
That's the daughter would look if he agrees with you.
I'd like to investigate.
well, that's the reason why I'm asking, was it a month's work or just
I
one
think there was
incident?
one drop, somewhere not too long ago, somebody went up and down North Road and threw them out as they were driving. There was a whole stream of them.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. And people are coming in from
That was
most
last
west jumping trash.
I'd like to make a motion if we could have this invoice pulled under old business and a copy provided to us.
Second?
I was just.
Any discussion? All those in favor saying aye?
Aye. Okay, so the motion,
To have
Approve the
invoice.
invoice.
Invoice,
The details for
You
the
need to use-
explanation.
invoice, well,
That's
it
mine.
is entry number, the check number 1485 on 10/5/2012 for the amount of $625, referencing rubber tire backhoe cleaning.
It's page 89.
Page 89 and 192 of the agenda.
okay, we'll second the motion.
I do.
Boy, if it's cleaning the tires, I'm gonna be very upset.
Notice I
I
can
think
ask
we'll
for
do
some
that.
of my
We'll-
spending.
I'll clean it for $600.
Yeah, 600 to
I'll
make.
clean them all for $600.
You got a lot of people who run that job.
$500, I'll clean it.
And Jill says she'll do it.
It could be a huge tractor.
$500, $600.
$600, I'll clean them.
I can change a tire.
Especially after, for 1 month, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, any discussion for this item? Virginia? No? Luis? Sure.
I do have one, Chair.
Oh, go ahead.
Good, page 58, 192, and 57. Page 50, there were accounts that were shuffled this year, and there were some expenditures in general fund, other governmental services, printing and binding. We did not budget money for that, so when you see the negative, that's where it got charged to, but it really belongs to the account just above that in financial administrative printing and binding, where there's more than adequate budget in that account. So that
Okay.
you'll see that occur.
You're gonna move that in the next?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions?
Just a comment, I've noticed we've used up a great deal of our legal,
On what page?
well, actually, if we just go to our,
You go
page
to
55
financial
of 192,
activity,
that's our
financial
favorite page, our summary sheet.
Yeah, I hate that.
It's a wonderful page, I'm sure Pearl is proud of it.
No, she did.
I
She
need to
had.
say that. Okay, basically, we're 25% through our year, but I see we're already 44% through on our legal.
Yeah, if you remember, the previous budget year, the legal counsel was 50, we actually increased it to 60. And part of the reason why those fees are higher is because we've been spending money on the day lawsuit, even though they're not the primary, our attorney's not the primary attorney defending us in the lawsuit. He's still involved in ancillary aspects of fighting the case. There's that one code case that we were talking about, and I need to go into the detail.
So we can expect that to grow rapidly.
Let's see.
Still 65.
65.
Initial Initiative Committee, VBS.
That's the other one, yeah, the initiative referendum, he's had to do a lot of work with that. Elections are coming up in March, so I would say the 5 big projects that he's been working on. Elections, referendum, day, one code case for us, and then general matters. And that's adding to the increase right now. Hopefully that additional 10 that we budgeted for carries through.
Any other questions?
Petitions do cost money.
Just a question.
Okay, sir.
Pineapple embroidery?
Yes.
Oh, that's a
You
surprise.
can't see it yet.
I knew what it was. Okay. I'm surprised nobody asked about candy
Well, that was for the float.
Yeah,
No,
we did,
yes,
we
we
did.
knew it was for the float.
and the hay.
The mayor made a point at town council meeting saying he loves throwing out the candy.
I actually thought you were going to ask about the fact that we had the candy and the Bible report covers in the same.
Well, perhaps we should ask what happened to the hay after it was off the float.
It was donated.
Donated to Vince Ross.
Yes, we donated it to the
Any other comments, discussion, questions? Well, seeing none, that, we have a motion and seconded. Approval of December 2012 financials. All those in favor saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Review of planning and zoning, well, I guess we don't have to do that. This is it for agenda?
Yeah.
Question, comment?
It's too easy.
It was 2 months worth of budgets and expenditures.
We didn't have any items on here, but
Let's go through it first, let's close it with committee members, Jim.
Well, the one comment I'd like to make, only because Elisa and I cannot speak after this, and she will be speaking to the town council regarding the fee schedule. I would just like to emphasize the concern for me as someone who deals on the other side of the issue and deals with developers and contractors. It is very troubling to me that the fee schedule is not a priority because it puts a cloud of suspicion on what is going on with development, and I don't think we need that. And I don't understand, and it makes the town council susceptible to suspicious observation and
Frankly, I couldn't agree more. You may remember, I think I mentioned to you all in a previous meeting that it puts the burden on us to kind of like get out our crystal ball and determine, based upon what we think the characteristics or the particulars of a case is going to be, how much money we should ask for up front. And we try to ask for enough up front so that we don't have to keep going back and asking for additional draws, so we get into situations where then we get into a negative balance. The program we envision, I mean, it's not going to be all that hard for us to do it, because what you do there is once you establish the fee, the initial fee at the beginning, and then you follow each phase of the application. And at that point, if you need more, if your initial fee wasn't high enough, before they go to that next step of the process, they don't go until they pay you the fee. The only challenging part we will have to make sure we try to stay up so we know that we're, more
Well,
balanced.
and setting the right amount.
Right.
I mean.
and that follows through to the building inspection fees and the planning and zoning, as everyone discussed, the consistency of it.
It's kind of tough because you're balancing a couple of different, if it's a normal planning matter, we have a planning consultant, we have the town attorney's time, and we have the advertising involved. Those are usually the 3 big ones. Sometimes if we need, in the past, we've had to use the engineer of record, if we need a Calvin's done, we would engage them as well. Or if there was some other kind of specialty issue, but.
Or even as Elise pointed out, the cost recovery fee schedule established, you yourself do, in advance set amount based on hourly, billable hours charged against it.
Any other comments? Yes.
I think that was very apt, what Virginia said, and I do share that. And I will, I just want to make sure that you two are in agreement with her comments. So I'll make it a recommendation for
The
the.
motion was approved, though.
Yeah,
Okay. That was a good one. The only thing I was, then would those fees be then like other, like Virginia was saying, other counties, those would be posted on the website so that those,
Or we can do a schedule, sure.
or
Sure.
would they, could it be both then? Would they be, then would it be up on the website and then as soon as they submit something, they're handed that paper that says, okay, this is what you pay here, this is what you pay here, this is what you pay here? Is that, and you're wondering about tracking it, well, you know, you have maybe them sign that, okay, this is where we are and this is, you know, a way for you to track it.
Well, the tracking really gets involved in making sure that we are up to speed in terms of our consultants and what they've charged.
Well, your consultants' rates are consistent for municipality. Hourly rates are usually consistent, 125 for a
They are,
repair,
because the bills are
180.
submitted monthly, so that's why we get behind a little bit. You know, the application might be moving a little faster than the bills are being processed, so we'll have to figure out a way to do that so that maybe it just means having our consultants submit twice a month.
Where the application gets held up till all the bills are submitted and paid. Which we've experienced out in the real world. If you haven't paid the bill, here's your bill, pay the fee, here's your permit.
Okay. Cheryl, any other comments?
No, that was just a curiosity.
Okay. Mr. Manager, any comments?
In general,
Yes.
the one thing I would like to tell you is that Ken Johnson was in our offices, and he happened to walk in at the same time as Mayor Browning. And after a discussion, Mayor Browning has decided to reappoint Ken to the vacant slot on the committee. We actually thought we were going to have Ken for this meeting, but the mayor forgot to appoint him at the last meeting. So we're gonna make sure we write it on the agenda, so we don't let it slip through the cracks again.
Welcome
And
back.
your next meeting-
Welcome back.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, thank you.
Bill?
But you're gonna have it on the next agenda.
We're gonna put it on for the, we're gonna identify it so that we can go.
Thank you for a lively discussion this evening.
Good.
Wonderful, good blood stirring diatribes. And hopefully, we continue with the agendas and have everything on there that is deemed, that you deem important, that we deem important, and that the town can use in order to move the town forward in the direction that they choose, because it was their choice. Our role here is to facilitate that direction.
To execute it directly. Denise, you have any comments? Sorry,
Good meeting.
we forget about the public.
And I'm glad Ken's coming back.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're not public anymore, okay?
Yeah. But I do have this statement to make. I think it would be much easier, and correct me if I'm misstating something. I think it would be, as far as this fee structure, I think it would be in our best interest to have the client, whoever it is, to overpay that somewhat, let them manage it, and then if there's a refund, they could say, oh, we owe you $67, and give it back to them. That way they know they have got all of their money, period. Is that a fair statement?
That's fair.
It is fair, and that's what we try to do within reason. I mean, so we
Yeah.
certainly don't want to tie up too much of their money if it's never going to be touched, but we try to get.
Right.
You know, what happens, these cases, sometimes you can never tell what's going to, slow it down or, gets into issues. I mean, Valley Crest is one. We never thought that would exceed $5,000, and it was tabled a couple times at the planning and zoning board. They've had to go back to the drawing board and try to do some things to make the situation more palatable, and it still hasn't gone to council yet. So that's why I have to, we came up with another figure on top of the monies that's in arrears. We're adding about another, I think, 4,000 onto that. So, and I mean, they're going to pay it. They need to pay it or they're not going anywhere, and they got a code issue that they still have to deal with. So,
Any more, Ken?
No, no thanks.
Well, Ms. Philomena?
No.
Okay, I think can you make a good statement? We know that for public entity, although we are, of course, non-profit, we're not supposed to make profit. However, there's nothing wrong for certain profit center to help absorb other centers' costs in general. So, so I, like during the booming time that the county building department makes a lot of money, and helping other departments. So, and there's some departments that may not generate any profit, like they may have like some program for the kids, social welfare, social services. I mean, so those are not making profit. So as far as the government is concerned, they are helping the taxpayer, in general, for everybody. So some of the operation might not necessarily self-sufficient, so they have to rely on other profit center. But for Lakshahati, we're such a small entity, and if we could tie the expenses to the profit or the revenue, I think that would be great. Otherwise, I don't see anything wrong to generate a little bit more, because in the long run, we have to pay. And there are other overhead we haven't included yet. So for us, overcharge 67 would be fun. It probably costs more than, I think it's okay. It's okay as long as,
Within reason.
Yeah, I agree.
Mr. Underwood's point has reminded me of a very important point. In Florida statutes, there is a requirement, for example, building departments, any monies they receive as a result of their permit fees actually are supposed to be put back into the building department.
Are put back where?
Put back into the building department. They
Well,
can
they have
be used to transfer out to other areas. And they try to watch that, because there are a lot of cities that weren't following that. They were actually taking the monies and putting it in other places.
Well, wouldn't that cover the cost of something like Two and Taylor doing a building inspection? Two and Taylor doesn't do building inspections for us?
That's county.
Okay.
And we're not involved in that, they go directly to the
Yeah,
county.
it's direct the county. County collects the fees.
So when you build a home here, does the town issue a permit and the county issues a permit?
We have an interlocal agreement with the county. What happens is we use the county's, the people come in, they have the county's permit. They'll come into us, and we will review it to make sure that it meets any relative zoning requirements, or if there's any planning issues associated with it. We will stamp it. We have a stamp that we have to put on it. The county won't even touch it until they see this stamp. And it goes back to the county. And the county goes through the building process with the county. We don't see it again unless there is an issue that has come up. But and of course, behind the local agreement is the fact the county gets all the permits. They get all the permits. Our fee that we've just enacted is to try to cover our costs in terms of reviewing it for the zone.
Right, the code we asked, which I think I asked like two meetings ago, we talked about.
So it's very clear, we know who draft the law, contractor, developers, it's very clear. Anyway, no more discussion, we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by
A
Cheryl,
second.
second by Gina. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
So wonderful meeting.
Thank you, Bill.
I'll go to your pause.
Well, you can stay.
I can stay and talk to myself.
You can stay with Bill, since he's so committed. You drive all the way from South Beach.
There are some lively discussions sometimes.
If I had Wi-Fi, I could have given you the answer on this, on the time.
That's why I was trying to get that on the.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He says that down the road, I'm gonna have to go in and take it out.
Right now.
He said,
Who's got the password? Well, why did you use the password?
Let me send you the
I don't even know what Wi-Fi is.
Yes, let me get over here.
well, I woke up, I
So,
figured I was passed out for like 20 minutes.
I could have looked it up.
Well, it just goes kind of.
Called me and said, "Hello,
Put it down, so next, when we come to next meeting, I need proper website.
yeah, whoever else
Okay, go to Wi-Fi.
on the phone.
Oh, you're
I said,
very
"I'm
well.
fine myself."
Yes.
My wife.
You do it. Yeah.
They
Set it
said,
up.
"Is the front door unlocked?" And I said, "No." They said, "Can you get to the front door and unlock the door and turn the light on?" And sit there and go in.
Yeah, I know, I know, you know.
I got there within 4 minutes.
Yeah, so Penny, you have any
Got
comments
to
for
the
Ed?
hospital.
You want to submit, please? I
Oh,
don't
what's
They're
the
not
next
submit,
meeting?
but I
All
don't.
the stuff was so,
Where's the next meeting?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm gonna extremely lucky.
You think? I don't know, sometimes I think he's all about building and
What is it?
No, January, next year, January.
February.
Yeah, I know, are you condo?
25th?
I'll do condo.
Is it? 25th.
Is that's
Okay.
25th.
And then he
Oh, we
said,
have a meeting
25th.
again?
What were you for today?
Well, that's fine. Yeah, that's right. No, I was gonna say, wait.
Okay.
Because I'm all,
A man's to be walking in that door right about 7 o'clock. This is
What is that? Come on, like a bookstore.
And we got a lot of
Uno para él y uno para ella. No quiero llevar más, pero de una vez llevamos dos.
Thank you, guys.
Que se lo comen en el lunch.
Lively is spirit.
No. You want to do more work. Rather than we have
He's an old business kind of guy.
Igual que el mío. Si tú estás en el baño.
yo dejé el tren en Puerto Rico, la mamá y los dos hijos, con mi mamá y mi hija.
No, Charlie tiene por ahí. Porque Charlie ya tiene 8 años. Y él todo lo ve como. Porque tiene un rug ahí en la parte de los suegros míos. Tiene un rug.
Don't you love them? Ay,
Oh my God. Y él se está acostado ahí con los ojos cerrados una vez.
yo te digo, cuando yo decidí venirme para acá, yo me la quería traer. Pero como yo no venía para mi casa todavía, no podía traérmela. Ay, pero yo adoro mi casa.